Welcome back, you guys. This is the final episode of all the upgrades on the Jaguar F-Type for a while. We're going to go ahead and get the Supercharger charge cooler back in and on. We did go ahead and get our hose clamp in. Our rubber hose is where it's supposed to be routed. We got the solenoid plugged in. We also got the knock sensor harness plugged in. Now, one thing to be aware, once you remove this imposer, where this used to clip is no longer existent. So we are going to have to tie that back somehow. But I think we're going to wait till we get the plastic housing for this in. So maybe we can tie it to that to keep it off this metal pipe here. And that'll go up there. Everything's plugged in back there. We're good to go. We got the surface just wiped down. We'll put the new gasket that's in here on that. So let's get rolling.
Built with soul, not just steel.
One thing we did is we got a comment asking how the intake valves looked, and I'm hoping this doesn't flip around too much, but here is what a direct injection. I mean, it is a little dirty down there, but not like crazy. The back of the valves look pretty good and dry. The runners themselves are wet. This valve's a little wet, but it's kind of the same on the other side. All right, let's look at this new gasket here. I believe I had it open on one side already. All right, just a new gasket. Figure out how to open this thing. Right there, okay. Here we are. Here is our gasket. Now we just got to figure out what side is what and go from there. I think they are facing the right direction already, but let's see how all the holes line up. Nope. This one is an inner bolt. There we go. That's an inner bolt, and this is an exterior bolt. So there you go. There is the gasket. We're going to pop this clip off for now. Okay, let's grab the charge cooler. All right, guys. We'll see how this new cover looks instead of just being one giant piece of aluminum. Oh, the gasket's moving, but we can get that corrected here. There we go. All right. All right, that's looking lined up. That looks pretty good, guys. I think that came out pretty nice. Go around to this side, check our gasket. All right, right there. Okay. And there was 25 bolts total, so I'm gonna grab all those bolts and get them set into place. Those really long ones go here. All right. Okay, so according to my software, 18 foot-pounds for all of these as well. We're going to start from the middle and work our way out. I'm going to get all the 10 millimeter bolts done first. Okay, there's 4 out of the 25. Okay, we got all those torqued to 18 foot-pounds. We're gonna run back through one more time, double check everything, and then move on. Okay, man, still love this, the way that looks. Looks so good. Okay, so I'm gonna work on everything in this back section first. Just get this done, and then we'll get the new tensioner on, and the belt, and the rest of the hoses on. Still gotta put the front fascia back on. But for now, let's work on wiggling this in there. Now, I did take it out without that bracket, so I'll put that bracket in later. So for now, it does go this way, and it goes a little bit something like, let's see here, it does sit right like this, so part of it goes down and through, and part of it goes up, so I remember I rotated it. Okay. Okay, this thing is definitely going to be a pain to get back in, so it's kind of confusing to get out, so, but, let's see this side. Can you remember it coming down for some reason, but maybe that's just that harness that comes down. Our part is getting the 2 on this side that split right here. One's got to go through the bottom, one's got to go through the top. So that's the hardest part, I think. Okay, so what I have, if you look, I have it upside down. I got the lower harness coming through the lower side, the upper harness coming through the upper side, and then it has to be kind of rotated from there. Kind of pull towards you and rotate. Keep everything inside. There it goes. Upside down, guys. Get it tucked in there. Okay. It's in there. It's just, this part right here is catching on the solenoid bracket, so. Oh, guys, this is a pain. You can see, I don't know if the camera's catching it, but the harness is in there. This is coming through like it's supposed to. This is on top like it's supposed to. So now we should be able to just rotate it. So without freaking breaking anything. Okay, you guys, I think I figured it out. So I couldn't get it to rotate. There's a screw right here. So I had to get a flat screwdriver under this to get this part over that screw, past this nipple here. There you go. And now we should be able to start rotating it the rest of the way to get it over here where it belongs. I'm gonna review some footage of taking this off and see if part of this harness comes through the top or if it all goes under the bottom here. So I think that's what's holding me up is there's a bottom section like this. Kind of remember something coming through there. And then there's the top section, the loop. So I might have to get those lined up so I can finish turning this. Okay, look at this here. So the harness does not go through this upper loop, it goes through the lower one. So we've got it routed under, it's kind of hard to see, but under this top loop through the bottom. We've got the bottom one going out the bottom, top one going through the top. So in theory, we should be able to start to rotate this now around everything and get it set up to how it's supposed to sit. And you see there it is going. Okay, I believe it needs to go that way some more first, and then that will go down in there. There it goes. Okay. There we go, guys. Look at that, bam. So again, this one goes under this here, this one over, this one under, and then you can rotate it in, and that'll sit on the bracket like that. We gotta be aware of the other harness down below. So this little guy sits up in here somehow. Not quite sure exactly, but I know this sits in this cover somewhere, somehow. Yeah, how this goes. There it is. Just like that. That sits in that groove. Everything looks wonderful back here. Let's grab our, I'll have to touch this up. I did scratch off the paint, unfortunately. But all I do for that is I take a little mini paintbrush and I just spray the black paint into the cap of the paint and just dab it on. Just, you don't want to make paint strokes because you'll see the strokes, so you just dab it. So I'll fix that up later on. Here is our bracket. They're little bolty bolts. All right, make sure that's clipped in where it's supposed to be. This one is gonna go like this. Oh, sorry, other way, this way. One there, these are the T30s. And one right here. And then that's gonna go ahead and clip down in there like so. Just like that. All right, and you can see this lines up beautifully now. There's no pressure on lining this up. It's not tugging anywhere. It's not catching up on anything. I can just all right. There is the harness. Now we're gonna have to put zip ties back around how they were originally on this. So this one was zip tied and this one was zip tied. There was technically three, but and then down here, okay, it's actually not even touching anything right now, but we want to make sure the harness stays away from this pipe here. You see the harness down here. So we will need to find a way. We can go up under the pipe, and then this also should have the breather tube should have a push pin style. I believe it's right here. I remember right. Just like that. So that's for the breather tube. Goes into that push pin style there. And that's the harness. We need to make sure it doesn't just sit there against that hot pipe. We will need to plug in the lower harness first down here. Make sure this is open how it's supposed to be. Make sure we're gonna air out, we'll blow out with our air compressor, blow out all these pins, just make sure no dust or dirt's in there, and then we'll plug that in, plug this one in, and then this harness, the yellow, goes inside this rubber booty right there. I'm gonna show you where that zip tie is. There's a little groove right here. The zip tie stays down in. And that's how I'm zip tying it back right there. Looks good, so that way it doesn't sag. There is this harness, this little harness right here. There is a push pin on the bottom of this aluminum crossover pipe. That little push pin goes back in. The other zip tie goes on this side over here, so we'll get that one in, and then we'll figure out what to do on this rear section. I don't think this plastic housing has a spot for the knock sensor harness, but I'll try to feel around and see if maybe we can find a push pin for that. All right, I recommend you guys do this however you feel comfortable doing it, but what I ended up doing here was I didn't like this little harness. I made sure the wires are loose, they're not kinked, but I didn't like this little harness because it kept wanting to fall against the top of the aluminum housing there. And then, so I ran, there's a hole where the old zip tie used to go right here. I used that hole down to that harness, there you go, that harness, and then that harness, if you look, goes around it, around this, and then up through this way. So nothing is touching. I mean, the little white plastic push pins, that front one is barely touching, but those are not important. But the harness itself is clear all the way around. So we don't have to worry about anything melting. Actually, now that I'm looking again, oh, I am so wrong, guys. There is a push pin harness. It does go down. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully the camera's getting down there. That big black metal bracket way down there is where that's originally supposed to go. Now, maybe I can get this harness down there. Maybe I can't, but I'm gonna cut the zip tie and we're gonna give that a try. I just saw that right now. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying to put the camera in there. Yeah, it's, there you go. There's its bracket way down there. So now that's actually officially in. It's holding groove where it's supposed to go, so it's nowhere near this pipe now. We got our two plugs back in where they go. I believe this one is all the way down, I believe. So, and then we got this set back in there. Do want to tuck this back in before I forget. I ended up taking this out looking for something, but I didn't need to take out, so there we go. There it goes. Nice. Okay. That's back in. It's back in. Now we can put this cover back on. That's gonna go in here. 1, 2. Should rotate down. And should lock on all 6 tabs. There it goes. Okay, that's what that should look like, guys. Excellent. Now we're gonna start putting, we're gonna get the fuel line on and then start putting this foam back in the sides because that's a pain. To get all the pain stuff out of the way first. As mentioned, this has got a lot of moisture from me, moisture from in the air, breathing on it. Okay, so we'll get the line in. Everything back here is done officially. Everything looks good. Hopefully you can kind of see it from here. We got that one sensor that's on the bottom of, I'm guessing it's an air intake temperature sensor or map sensor or something that's on the back side of this runner, way down low. We got that plugged in before we started putting any of that earlier in the video. All right, so this one, fuel line. All right, goes like so. Up under that, up behind there, down inside of here, put that up here. All right, so it goes something a little like this. Before you tighten any of those, you want to get your ends lined up and finger tight first. Okay, that one's going. Let's walk around to the other side. I don't have my station camera set up right now, so we're just using the POV. That's why the volume or mic quality isn't as good either. So I don't have my wireless mics on. But these are 17s. We're gonna snug them, both sides. They don't go crazy super tight. When I broke them free, I mean, I just barely went dunk from the factory. So we'll do that real quick. Let me grab a 17 out of the truck because I don't think I have one out of here. Yeah, so I'll snug those down, then we'll get back to it. Okay, fuel line is on. All 4 Torx bits are in. The fittings are snugged. So this thing is starting to look like it's supposed to. So one thing I want to do is I want to start to prep the harnesses. That goes to the throttle body. This one goes to here, to there. So I just want to make sure nothing's going to be in the way. There's the throttle body. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the throttle body on now before we do these side covers. Make sure nothing's in there. We're good. We've had it covered, but all right. So let's check out the throttle body. It's a little dirty. We'll wipe it out, and then the 4 wonky looking bolts here are for the throttle body. Get it all cleaned up. We're also going to change out. This came with the kit. We're going to go ahead and change out this piece here. I believe it goes down. I don't know if this is, yeah, that's plugged off. I don't know what that was for, but so we're gonna clean this out and we're gonna swap this hose out. We got a new one in the kit right here. Right there. So let's go ahead and swap that bad boy out. I picked this kit up super cheap off of Amazon. I think it was like $29.99. It comes with the pliers and all the hose clamps. These are called single ear clamps. So they look just like, pretty much just like the factory ones. So we want to find a clamp that is close to the size right away. And we're gonna go ahead and slide this down. The reason we're using this is because there's not a lot of space, if you recall, underneath the throttle body itself. So we want to make sure that the clamp does not get in the way anywhere. So neck is up here. Let's see about roughly where the factory one was squeezed. Mount down just a hair. All right. So now, the way these work, you set your pliers right here and you just squeeze to tighten. All right, same thing. We're going to use the same size for this side of the throttle body. So we got our L-ring or L-rin, however you pronounce that, brand new throttle body gasket. What's nice about these is they have 2 alignment pins that hold the gasket in place, so you can do whatever you want to do with this thing and it won't fall out. So now we're going to work on getting this hose on. Let's see what side's going to be easier for us. It is coming up from right here, so let's set this down and get the hose clamp over the hose. This is that hose we replaced that comes up under the supercharger. So there we go. Got plenty of stretch like that. All right. Let's walk this on all the way to the end. It's pretty close. A little more. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's get our pliers. Let's go tighten this hose clamp as well. Oh, we don't want to lose it. A little bit of a tight space in here. Okay, let's try this real quick. Like, I'm right about there. Get the clamp right in the center. Try to get this clamp, these pliers on it. There you are. Bite. And get them recentered and bite all the way down. All right. There you go. Now we got our hose clamps on. We should be able to turn this thing right into its proper location. All right, let's go look at that side, see what's holding up on that side. Something's holding up over here. All right. I think it's just our hose. That hose is clear, that hose is good. So it's just a matter of getting it to walk down behind. There it goes, it's going. And one's gonna stay in front. Oh, our gasket popped. That's another reason, there you go. Okay, our gasket is lined up. That should be sitting something similar to this. We need, looks like, it is rubbing right here just a little bit. Maybe we can walk this back down a little. Hopefully that does not leak, but we'll find out. There we go. There we go. That's better. Okay. So, let's get our 4 bolts. 1. 2. All right, that one's started. These do have a pointed tip to help center them. Get them centered. 3. And this bottom one's a little bit of a pain for. Okay, let me get these tightened down and then we'll move on. Okay, I don't have the torque specs for the throttle body. However, these are a rubber grommet and the gasket is rubber and steel. So I just went down until they felt snug. It's probably only maybe 8 foot-pounds. So we're talking like maybe even a little less than that, you know, probably between 65 and 96 inch-pounds for these bolts to be snug. So don't over tighten them because they do compress the rubber. So, and they do bottom out. So that is how you do that. Now the harness will come over. You'll have your throttle body harness. Will go in, and then you can lock the red tab. Not quite sure where this one goes quite yet. Probably on the upper pipe. We might need to actually put the upper pipe on now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, so let's look at where the upper pipe goes. I know one bolt goes here. We might have to take one of these back out. And then we are going to put a little bit of silicone to help that O-ring sit down in there. Let's kind of see where we're at. This is a little bit of a tight fit, guys. Might have actually been, there it goes. Might actually have been easier with the, there should be some kind of bracket out here. Oh, let's see. Do we got any kind of bracket? I guess not. Only the one bolt. Look at the old one. Oh, the old one had two bolts, and that's for that push pin. Okay, so we should have 2 bolts on there. Yes, okay, there it is. It's up here. 1, 2, and that's for that black push pin there. So, all right, so let's get this going. So we know it's got to come in through this way, turn, and lock down. So let's get that rolling real quick. Let's get a rag, grab our silicone. Should be over here. This just really helped with those inner ones, so I'm just going to do the same thing on here. Plus it helps seal it up just in case. So it's a win-win. Yeah, it'll be a little bit messier to clean long term, but this really helped. That silicone acts as a lubricant and really helps slide this into place. So there we go. Wipe that stuff off my hands so I'm not wearing gloves. All right. All right, that one went in nicely. See how much that silicone helps? It's just freaking beautiful. All right. Let's get our 2 bolts for that. Should be our last 2 here. 1, 2. That one. Believe, and this one, let's make sure they're not too long, but this should be them. I'm pretty sure. All right, 1, 2. Let's grab the gun and just run those down. Let's make sure this doesn't bottom out. Nope, that one's good. Same thing here. Nope, that one does. This one goes to something else. Okay. Grab that little guy. There we go. All right, that looks super great, guys. I know I said I was going to do these covers, but I kind of got sidetracked on doing all this. And now that's in there, so awesome. Now, let's do this. Goes here, like so. I'll lift up and push it down. Oh, come on, baby. Right there. Ah, there we go. Nice. And you're going to have one sensor down here. Then you're going to have this big sensor here. And then this guy. And then this guy. All right. And just like that, guys, your harness is back in place. Verify nothing else is unplugged. Everything's looking good. We can get this hose on with that little front nipple that goes to the water pump there that we upgraded to brass. Throttle body is in, hoses are on. We'll do that hose last, so we can get this hose in now. And then we'll be almost done up there. Okay, so here is that pipe. We're gonna try to figure out a way to get it in there, hopefully without too much trouble. Let's see what we can do here. Use our hose clamp tool, see if we can get a bigger bite than that plastic got, because it just was not nearly enough. Let's go all the way open. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than it was. Let's try to get this on there again now. Get the initial flare going. Yeah. Okay. We need to turn it this way. Yeah. And then this one needs to go down and around. I'm going to have to do the same thing here. Pop that off. Move it down. And then just move it down. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. Yikes. Spikes. Which way does this need to go? Down, maybe? Okay, we need to turn this. Which way? It's almost too long. What the heck? Alright. Okay. Right there. Alright, let's cut off a good 1/4 inch of that. Okay, guys, I cut off about that much of the hose. Now you can see it's nice and perfectly straight from here to here. I did have to use regular pliers on these new clamps because you need this piece to go all the way inside this piece, and on both of them to get them over those giant flares. So now it's not kinked at all. It's fitting perfect. Clamps are in their proper position. So now we need to plug in our water pump hose. Just like that. So now our water pump hose is plugged in. And we may actually end up twisting this back just a hair on both clamps. Okay, I loosened the clamps and I rotated this hose ever so slightly. So that way this comes off nicely and goes right there nicely around this bottom hose and isn't just resting against it. I didn't want vibration to snap this plastic here. So that is all in. So as for hoses, we are done. We're going to start putting in this foam padding now. And then we'll do the tensioner and the belt. And that'll be it, honestly. And then we'll just coolant. But we're going to stop this video. We'll show you what to use for the coolant. I still got to order the coolant. But we'll show you what to use for the coolant. and how to use it on this video. And then that way you guys know how. Because these systems, I mean, yeah, can you do the traditional old school fill and use the bleeder valve? Yes, you can. However, a airlift system works so much better to be able to get every air bubble out of this thing all the way back to the heater core, everything. So it puts the whole system in a vacuum, and then it uses a return vacuum system to pull brand new coolant to the farthest point back and then fill from there. So your air, whatever air you have when the system shuts down, will be just in the tank, and then you can just top off the tank. It's the best way to do it. I'll show you guys how. The kits are super cheap nowadays for the airlift system. So for now, let's get going on this part. Before we put the foam cover on the coil packs there, we need to put our PCV line back on the system. So it's a hard plastic line. It goes right here to the rear of this valve cover. It goes down underneath all of this and around. So what we got to do is got to get it to click here. There it goes. It clicked. Now that should give us enough room to get it to go over here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. You can see how it was routed. It rubbed. See right there, it was already rubbing right on this inner bolt here. So you want to make sure it's fitting tight up against it. Just like that. Okay. That one, you can kind of wiggle and jiggle until it's where it needs to be. And then we can start to get this cover in. Again, these covers are a bear to do. This one goes this way because that hose comes right through here. I believe this even goes right there on that one. It's like that. So this is the fun part. So I'm gonna get this down, put the back end in first. There is another line right here. I think I can do that line after the fact, yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna get that down, get this one down. I gotta get this stuff down past everything. This is the hard part. Gotta get those knobs tucked. Okay. Alright, let's see if we can get past that coil there. There we go. Okay. This needs to come forward, go down, I believe. This has a boot. All right, but it's gotta come forward. Okay, we got it down, now I gotta come forward with it. There it is. Okay, you're almost there, guys. If you look here, so this pin's gonna go right here. This is a stopper against the valve cover, so we want to get that in place, like that. And then you need to go down here and push all this in place. And it should grab on top of the coils, just like that, like that, like that. 1 and 2. You want to get your hand flat down here. Push it, see how that fits? There you go. That fits over that line. That's how you know this thing's on. Then you can twist this back here and snap it on as a support right there. That supports that, that supports that. 1. 2. There you go. So those, my friends, this side is done. Like that. So now we got to fight. That side's got a lot more going on. That one's a pain. So we're going to fight that one. Okay, so on this side, we need to reinstall our purge solenoid. So this goes kind of down through between the harness and the fuel line. It's going to sit up on this perch like so. So we'll get it down, push it onto that perch. Get this up over and down, and then it's going to clip into that there. We got to leave it unplugged for now because we do have to get this rubber tube through there. Now on this particular one, I believe, let's see here, I think this thing is going to come down and stay right along that edge there. So the cover is going to go right through all of this. Let's make sure we plug in our electrical connector to the solenoid. So we're going to get a check engine light. All right. Somewhere in here. There you go. Boom. Okay. Everything else is looking really good. So now this is the worst. that's all I'm gonna say. This one, you gotta have some patience, guys. Just bear with it. You're gonna need to remove your oil cap to get it down over this. Bring it in like this and down and try to swing it back. You're gonna have to help with your hand because there are these fuel lines that just kind of get in the way, and it's not very fun, to be honest. This is probably this is probably the biggest part I dread of all of what we've done. So we'll get it done and we'll just go. We're just going to go for it. So we just got to make sure we don't break any of these fragile lines. I want to get this down, like I said, here as much as we can past these coils. Things are just a bear. Just a bear, I tell you. All right, hold on one second. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything real quick. Because I feel like... Okay, that goes over to that, which sits in that groove. One of them sits in that groove. The other one sits in the upper groove, which is... Where's the second one? This one. So, yeah. So that one is... Does this one go behind? Oh, see, look. I'm glad I looked. So this needs to be popped into that valve cover down here. Like that. This is going to go on there like so. But I think... There we go. See that? There's a clip there. That way the cover can go in front of this line. I was trying to put it behind that line. There we go. Now I feel better about that. I think I do have to, because they separate. Yeah, pretty sure I have to leave this one off. If I remember right, I'll leave that one off for now. We'll get it back on once we get it rotated in there. But let's try this now. This one is such a pain. It's that back coil that's a bear. Okay, it's going. And let's get our cap off. Alright. See, we're catching on everything, so you just gotta look behind here and get everything down little by little, guys. That's the only way to do this, is just little by little. Put your hand back here and push. Go past the coil. There is a if I remember right, there is a way to slide forward or back. I can't remember. But you can see. Okay, let me get a flashlight so you guys can see. Yeah. I'll be so glad to have this thing done and have my fab shop back so I can clean it. See back there where, hopefully, what's catching on all the coils. That's what catches right there, and that's what you have to tuck down as you go down. So once it goes, it sits pretty easy. So it's just a matter of getting those tucked. I'm gonna use a big flat screwdriver to help push on that back here. It's already going, but yeah. So let's do that, and then let's do this. Okay. Big flat screwdriver. Okay. Make sure we're getting each one of these. Okay, that one's down. That one's down. Oh, don't want to lose our oil cap. Okay. That one's down. That one's down. Okay, so now it's starting to go down. We should start seeing this stuff come through. These lines go, there it goes. All right, guys, there we go. Okay, so these lines go, you gotta be careful. They go be in front of this, just like that. So, this line sits right where it's supposed to. This one needs to come over here. All right, so push. Okay, we're gonna, don't want anything falling in our motor, so get that kind of situated. There you go. All right, so that one is on, that one is on. All right. This one goes through, like so, or vice versa. I don't know. Yeah, yes, okay. Okay. So that one's gotta go on like that, and then you lock the metal tab down. And that is that line there. There's something holding us up down here. I'm not quite sure what yet. Something to do with this line not being in its place anymore. There we go. Okay, push against the coils. And then this has a little groove. These things should go like that. And this thing, again, should complement that. Okay, and this one should be sitting a little bit tighter back here. There it goes. Okay, there you guys go. Make sure that's all on. That should come out. That should be in. And a little spit lube to that. Okay. That'll lock that down. That's locked into place. That's locked into place. That is going nowhere. It's got the heat shield that it needs for the coils. Just like that, guys. Now everything's plugged in there, except for this guy. So let's move this guy closer. Do we want to move him closer? Or do we want to get that tensioner on first? Actually, I think I'm going to leave these off, guys, to give us a little extra room for that tensioner. But just bear with this. Again, take your time. Okay, you guys, the easiest way to get the new tensioner on is simply lay your left side across the engine. That way you can use two hands in front of the engine to line up your dowels. And then you can go like this, get your bolt started. We're going to torque this to the factory torque spec of 47 Newton meters. But we're going to run it in first. Just like that. So we'll finish running this in, we'll get it torqued, and then we'll put the belt on, and then we got to take out the pin. Okay, so that is our belt routing like this for the Supercharger belt. Hopefully we ordered the right belt. We'll find out here momentarily. We got the bolt torque down on the tensioner. Around the crank. All right. Okay, we know it's gonna go through here. It's kind of a tough fit, so I'm gonna twist it and get it past the tensioner, and then we'll go underneath and grab it. Nope, that's too far past the tensioner. Okay, let's get this down past the tensioner and all these pulleys here. Yeah, we're snagged on something, I'm sure of it. Okay, Supercharger, backside of the idler, down to the crank, around the tensioner. Is it on the top side of this? Should it be the top side? Oh yeah, because that gets 180 degrees. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we just gotta get it around the crank, guys. Looks like that's all we got left to do. Just finish walking it around the crank. Let me see if I can sneak my hand up in here a little better. Knocking dirt and stuff off of my eye. That's fun. Okay. Guys, what a pain. That new tensioner is so strong. It definitely took two people to get the belt on. So we finally got the right belt. My fault for accidentally ordering a 1470 belt. So if any of you guys on here need a ADPK 1470, if your Jaguar takes that or Land Rover, this will be up for sale for $75 shipped to the US. It's brand new. We test fitted it and the tensioner was maxed out, so it is too long. So we'll have that. Just reach out to us and we can set something up. Okay, so tensioner is done. Belt is done. Now what we have left here is we have our cables, our coolant lines, which are right here. Hopefully you guys can see this. I know this is pointing a little high, but we did end up getting this new line here. This is that one that had the broken clip, so we wanted to replace that. This goes up over here and goes right like so. Just like that, and that goes down to the water pump fitting, and this one's gonna go okay. This one goes just like that. Pop that off. Nice new line. Let's get the other one popped in. This one goes down to this right here to this. All right, let's pop these together. 1, 2, double snapped, locked on both sides, There we go. There. That is all of the front cooling stuff except for this last radiator hose. We've got everything else. This can go on now. Locked in place, clipped in place. There you go. All right, so there is our final coolant hose. It is on its bracket, in place, clamp is on. So we are gonna show you guys how we do an airlift on the cooling system. And then we're gonna probably, in this video there, you guys can figure out how to put your intakes back on, or just go back to the beginning, episode 1 of this project, for how to remove those or put them back on, just reverse steps. Reason we're gonna stop the video here is we wanna make sure the cooling system is solid. It's got no leaks, but we still gotta change our oil. We're gonna go ahead and pull our air filters off while we're right here. We're going to clean those. Also, I believe his name was Dave Best on YouTube. Let me find out here, you guys. I want to get it right because he deserves a shout out. Okay, so I want to give out to David Best 1 on YouTube for coming up with this idea. I don't know if it was his own, but it's a great idea. So you can see the horns down here, and they do restrict flow for the new charge cooler. So what they recommend doing, and it's a really easy task, is just taking this 10 millimeter off of the top and flipping these inside so that the horns are already behind the crash bar. So you're not taking up any more airflow, and that'll allow all of this space to be used for airflow. The horns will still be operational. So we're gonna go ahead and take that 10 off, and flip it. Again, thanks for the tip. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a airlift. So one, you want a 5-gallon bucket, super clean. I just clean mine with brake clean. And then they sell all sorts of these kits. I bought the giant set. This is a radiator pressure tester kit from Amazon, but it also has an airlift system in it. You can buy the airlift system by itself. You don't need the pressure tester and everything, but obviously I do this for a living, so I like to have both. So what the airlift system looks like is this valve right here, this hose right here, and that should be it. I got to put my own hose on the evacuation tube. Let's close this down. So what you want to do, if you get the same type of kit, I look for a radiator cap that matches this one here. So it's got a, let's see, nope. It's gonna be one of these ones here then. It's either that one, that looks like it, because these are closed systems, so it's likely this one. This comes with a wrench. Sorry, I hope you guys can see that. I know this camera's kind of pointing up and I keep forgetting about it. Okay, so you got this here. There's a little wrench to tighten this down. And then you got your airlift right here. And this goes to a regular air compressor. So what we want to do is we need I just put an air vacuum hose on this one barb. Yeah, just something long. That'll work. It's my junk drawer, my hose junk drawer here. All right. Well, this is going to go on to that one like that. I'll go show you how to hook this up. Okay, we had to wait till the compressor, because we never turned that thing on, so we had to wait for it to build up so it would be quiet while we do this, so you guys can see. So we got the cap. Make sure you guys can see that. Okay, so we got the cap on. The system sits on top of the cap, and then this is your purge hose. Typically, if you have coolant in the system, you want to put this into a bucket. This system's pretty dang empty from all the work we've done. It might spit a little bit, so I'm just going to wrap a rag and just kind of tuck it in the fender here just so it can purge the air and capture the coolant. I don't think it's going to be very much. So coolant wise, basically Ford coolant has the exact same part number except for one letter at the very end. Everything I found on like Zurich's website and stuff is the orange Ford coolant is also for Jaguar. So honestly, from what my system says, my computer, it says it just needs to be organic acid technology, which is what the standard Ford orange is. So we're using Ford orange. I feel confident about that. So on this system, you got to make sure this hose is closed for sure. What I normally do is I blow through it before I hook it up, just to make sure the valve's closed. This needs to stay submerged at all times. So system says about 3 gallons. I have 4 gallons in here. That way I never go dry while I'm controlling this. We're going to put the vacuum on here. And basically, you turn this. Once I open this, there you go. You see the system's going into a vacuum. Your hoses will start to collapse. I personally take mine right into the yellow. Just right into the caution, top of green. Close it. Unhook it. It's just that fast. It creates a vacuum. It's holding at -50 right there. Hopefully you can see that. So now what we do, we get this prepped. Make sure it's deep in the coolant. And you just open it. And that vacuum in the system draws this to the furthest point back, which is likely your heater core on this one. But this gets all the air out. So that's why they call it an air lift system. So we're going to finish this up and then we'll top it off when it's all said and done. Just want to show you how this hose is actually flattened out like a pancake. It's already returned. We're at -25, so we're halfway returned on the vacuum, but the hoses are still collapsed, which shows this thing's still under a heavy vacuum, 25 inch-pounds. So it's a really cool system, and it's really easy to use. So like I said, what happens is this forces any and all trapped air to get to the closest point here. So once this thing levels out, you'll notice this will get to 0, but your coolant will also stop flowing. You can disconnect, and then all you have to do is top off the tank. You know the system, because the coolant got pushed back and the air is trying to, the air got vacuumed out, and so the coolant's going to get to the farthest point, and then any air that's still trapped is going to be at the closest point to the fitting. So if that makes sense, basically. We've already sucked down probably 2.5 gallons worth. Okay, so we got like a little over a gallon left. There's probably 1.25 gallons left. So we used 2.75. Looking at my specs, that's actually about right. Like I said, right around 3. So you can see in here, it is full, and it's not over full. That's what's cool about it. It's full to right where it's supposed to be, right at the max line, right there. I don't know if you can see inside my finger moving, but it automatically fills right to the full line. What I always recommend still doing, just as a safety precaution, is run the engine with the lid off for a minute, just in case there's anything trapped anywhere. It can kind of bubble out, and you can just top it off before the engine gets too hot. And then this is your bleeder right on top here to get all the rest of the air out, to make sure your level is right where it's supposed to be. So we're gonna not tighten that down. We're just gonna set it on there for now. But yeah, that's how you use an airlift system, you guys. You can verify there's no coolant leaks. Obviously, it was under a vacuum. It held 50 inch-pounds of vacuum, so there shouldn't be any leaks anyway, but you can always just verify, go around, look for things. Obviously, when coolant expands and the engine's warm, things are gonna settle, so you wanna double check for leaks, make sure your Y pipes and stuff aren't leaking. I have a borescope, so I can just stick a camera down there, but just monitor it. You know, if you notice, you're gonna probably burn off some steam when you first start these things because, you know, pulling off, if you did like the oil cooler like I did and all the Y pipe, you can only get so much out of that valley. I got as much as I could, sucked up as much as I could with a vacuum with rags, but there's probably little pockets here and there that are gonna steam off and burn off. So don't be scared if it's smoking, just monitor your engine temp really well. Make sure it's getting to the proper operating temperatures, fans are coming on properly. Well, that concludes it, you guys. We are going to clean our air filters, do our oil change. We're gonna do a full oil change, drain it from the actual bottom of the car. So we gotta get this thing back up. We still gotta get our front fascia on. We're putting the fascia back on without a splitter for now while we build our own custom splitter. Coolant seems to be solid. We don't see any leaks anywhere. So I hope these videos helped. I know they're a little bit long, especially number 2, but I hope they really helped you guys. But for now, learning, building, and sharing the ride. This is JP Street Performance. Until next time.